But one thing I do want to talk on, Tom, I'll start with you. Hato, Ben Jacobs, and another guy has reported that Liverpool and Chelsea are looking at Hato. We've been linked with him quite a bit. Obviously, continue our Dutch contingent, with us just signing every good Dutch player that the world has to offer currently. It'd be a good signing. We've been looking at kind of a left back who can also play left centre back. I think if that does transpire, it really brings the future of Robertson and Simicast right to the forefront, because you will essentially have 4 players who can play left back, and we're already pushing it with 3 players at the moment, and neither of them, apart from the Atletico Madrid link, neither Simicast or Robertson have really been linked away. Apparently, they want 60 million euros. The report says teams are looking at around 40 million, which I think would be fair when you look at kind of their sales. But he's versatile. He's strong. He's good, very good in the air as well. He's very fast and wouldn't need much settling in. I think when you look at left centre backs and young ones, especially, which we need to look at for Van Dijk, who's probably going to be departing in a few years, there's not many better options, is there?
No, not at all. And I made a video about this in April, where I was making some predictions for Liverpool to sign some players. And I had Kirkes, Frimpong, Hato, and I think Evac in there. So I could be 4 for 4 by the end of the window, but likelihood is probably not. But in the comments, there were a lot of Ajax fans saying that 60 million euros wasn't enough. Talking about how much of a leader he is, how quick, how strong, how much of a great defender he is. And I watched some highlights, and obviously highlights is a different thing to how they actually play, but he is so quick for a centre back. And he always seems to be diving in and getting there. So I think it would be a massive signing for Liverpool if we got him. I'm also a little bit worried about Canate. And what's going on there, because if that's another Real Madrid situation, we're dropping the ball again. But for that side of things, I think maybe we play Canate for this next year, let him go on a free, tell Gahey that that's what we're going to do, basically, and then get him for a free next year, which is a possible option for us. But with Hato, yeah, I think top player. And if we can get him in, maybe not this summer or in January, but next summer, I think that's a great thing for Liverpool.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Kieran, kind of all of our the positions we need all kind of interlink with Newcastle, but with them looking at Scalvini, I'm surprised you aren't really looking at Hato. I don't know if you kind of know much about him. Obviously, I know Lewis Hall is obviously an amazing player, but kind of your centre backs. I know you guys love Shaw and Botman, but think when you're looking at top world class players to help you win the Champions League, you probably need to improve. And I think Hato for 40 million, you can kind of promise him the world as well. Compared to the likes of Liverpool and Chelsea, who already have top players there. That kind of that to me screams at maybe like a Newcastle or kind of like a Spurs, someone who can offer him that. But for 40 million Premier League, I think he'd be a good signing for Liverpool and Newcastle as well now.
Yeah, I would take Hato personally. Like you said about Shaw as well. Shaw's getting on now. He's losing his legs a bit. I think he's like 33, 34, something now. Not quite sure. But you mentioned before as well, Gahey. I would go back in for him, but for some reason we aren't, because he's prem proven. He's perfect for what we need, really. Botman, I think, is a long-term centre back for us. I know you said, obviously, you maybe don't think he's the world-class centre back, but
He is also made out of Weetabix.
oh yeah, his injury record is terrible, terrible. But again, Isak's got a bad injury record too.
Oh, don't get Steve started on that. He turns into a doctor when he looks at his bloody injury history on Transfer Market.
Last
But
season he wasn't too bad, but
No,
he
that's
played
it.
33 Premier League games, and as I say to Steve, if you want to go down that injury record with Isaac, you also have to look at bloody Florian Wirtz, who's damaged his cruciate ligament twice,
I
and
mean, you
at 22
can,
years old.
But the issue is that Florian Wirtz had one big injury, then came back, got 30 goals and assists, 30 goal contributions in both seasons after it, and won Player of the Year twice in a row. So, I mean, apples to oranges a little bit.
They're both fruit at the end of the day. But, I mean, Steve Hato, we've been linked to him for a while now. I remember we were linked with him a couple, kind of when he first broke in, and he wanted like 80 million. And I don't think maybe he's really stepped up as much. Maybe stepped up is the bad word. He's captained them a bunch of times. He's kind of more played as a left back for them, or like kind of in a back three a little bit. But he's a good signing, I think. For the price that we're looking at, you're not going to do much worse, are you, in today's current market?
No, you're not. For the potential that he has, and just before I get into that, and just after seeing it there, Alex Crook, who is a journalist with TalkSport, is actually saying West Ham are planning talks with Liverpool this week over a deal for Harvey Elliott. That's just been put out there now, just so that we can note that for everybody watching, the 11,000 people that are nearly watching, which we just touched on a minute ago with Morton as well. But Jorrel Hato it's an odd one, because I think the problem is that I think last summer might have been the time to get him, because then he becomes homegrown, whereas now he doesn't become homegrown because he won't have enough time with us to then become homegrown. But if you did sign him now, you essentially get the guts of 3 years of him not being counted on the register. So he doesn't go towards the 17 until 3 years' time, and by that point, that's an eternity in footballing terms. So I wouldn't go on anything higher than, like, Ajax's record fees, hilariously, are all Man United. With Martinez or
defenders, not Frankie de Jong went for like 80 million.
Yeah, but the defender side of it, that's Lisandro Martinez. He's the biggest one at about 50 million euros. So I don't
bigger to Juventus.
It would have been a De Ligt to Juventus, actually.
I think De Ligt was like 70 million or something ridiculous.
It was about 70 or 80 million. Hilariously, both of them now at United. And both overpaid for massively. And let's not even get into the whole Anthony debacle as well. That United basically went away on holiday and then came back and found out that his price went up 50 million quid. But no, with Hato, I don't see any downside to it. He's a young guy. Apparently Virgil van Dijk is a massive fan of his, and with Virgil van Dijk being around him an awful lot in the international setup, I think he'd have a good gauge of his character and a good gauge of whether he'd fit sort of the Liverpool ethos. I love him. I genuinely love him at the club. I think he could be sort of that versatile, you know how like playing a left-footed centre back at left back was so all the craze when the likes of Gvardiol came into the league, and now it's kind of gone to the wayside. I think getting somebody like him and developing him as both a left back and a centre back allows you so much tactical flexibility that you could play a Frimpong and let him maraud forward consistently, and then you have essentially a pseudo back three of Hato and then your two main centre backs, whoever they are at the time. I would be all for it. Now, the fee is the only other thing that I'd have a question on, is that if it's anything over about 45 million pounds total, I'd be like, no thanks. We'll wait, see how he develops, because there's no point in taking a punt like that on such a young kid that hasn't come up through the Premier League. And we've seen him, because if yes, he plays for Ajax in the Champions League and everything like that, but it's a different kettle of fish, and you need to be utterly generational, kind of like Cody Gakpo was before he moved from PSV to us, because he was scoring goals for fun in the Eredivisie. So it remains to be seen whether we'll go for him, but I could see us being very interested in possibly getting him next summer after another year of development at Ajax.
Yeah, definitely. We also have a great relationship with Ajax, considering that our main man, Johnny Heitinger, who was our assistant manager, was this coach last year. They signed Jaros as well, and I think they're also very interested in Tyler Morton too. I think they're one of the clubs that are interested, so it could be a you know, if we wanted to get a deal done for Hato, I think, regardless of who's interested in him, I don't see how we, unless Chelsea are offering him a 10-year deal, 180 grand a week, which, let's be real, is a possibility, which is a crazy thing to say. I think we kind of get that deal done if we need to.